Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me today for our live presentation on Roundtrip Getaways with Amtrak Vacations, how to start from your hometown. Really appreciate you all joining me and spending your time with me this morning. And just a little bit before we get started here, I just want to make sure that you know on the right-hand side of your screen usually, there is a section for you to download a couple free handouts that we have for you. So we've got a great handout with some photos and things of the onboard accommodations. So what it looks like in the private cabins on board the train, as well as our downloadable map, which is going to feature stops all across the USA and up into Canada here, so you can see potentially your hometown stop. I'll show it a little bit later on today's broadcast, but if you want to have it download, you can do that at any time throughout the broadcast. As well, we do have a questions box, so please do feel free to ask questions at any time throughout today's presentation. I will address everybody's questions at the end of the broadcast, and do not worry, we do usually get a lot of questions on these presentations, which I love. It's one of my favorite parts to interact with you folks at the end. But if I do not have a chance to get to your question live on today's presentation, do not worry, because we will have somebody from the team send that information out to you. So we'll make sure you get the answers that you need. So do feel free to type those questions away at any time throughout today's presentation. Just a little bit about me. I will be your host today. My name is Colleen McCarthy. I've been with Amtrak Vacations for the last almost 8 years now. It's amazing how time flies. And again, if you do have any questions, I've been very lucky to have been out on many of the famous routes across the USA. I've visited a lot of the fantastic destinations we're going to look at in today's presentation. So again, please do ask any questions throughout today's broadcast. And just a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So of course, we're going to talk about starting from your hometown station, wherever that might be, how you get on board the train and connect through to whatever fantastic destination you might be interested in. We're also going to speak a little bit about how Amtrak is adapting to provide a safe environment in these times. We'll look at some fantastic limited time offers that we have going on here with Amtrak Vacations. We'll take a look at the different onboard accommodations. So we'll see photos and images of what it looks like inside the roomettes and the bedrooms and the accessible sleeper. We'll talk about what life is like on board the train, so what it's like to eat on board the train, the observation cars and everything like that. We'll discuss a little bit why Amtrak Vacations can help you plan the perfect holiday. And of course, as we often do in these presentations, I do have a special offer just for you folks as a thank you for spending your time with me today. So that will be coming up at the end of today's broadcast, so do stay tuned for that special offer. And without any further ado, I want to jump right into one of the number one questions that we are getting here at Amtrak Vacations right now, and that is, how is Amtrak maintaining a safe environment? So of course, we all know that it's a little bit of a strange time, maybe to be planning a holiday with different concerns about the environment, but Amtrak is taking everything extremely seriously. So for example, they do require facial coverings in the stations and on board the trains and their throughway buses. But that is one of the perks of having what the private accommodations on board the train. So if you do take the roomette or bedroom or accessible bedroom on board the trains, you can remove those masks in the comfort of your own private room. Of course, Amtrak has enhanced their cleaning protocols. So both on the trains and in the stations, all of the equipment is cleaned and sanitized frequently. Of course, focusing on those points where people do come into contact, railings, door handles, all those sort of things. Amtrak is also currently cashless and contactless. And what that means is, so for example, when you go to present your ticket, you'll hold up your paper ticket or you hold it up on your phone. They'll scan it with their little wand, but you never have to pass anything back and forth. So it does remain contactless for you there. In the stations, they are putting up social distancing posters and floor stickers to direct folks on the safe distance to stand apart, especially when you're waiting for a train or things like that. And then if you will be traveling in the coach seating, Amtrak is running about 50% capacity on purpose to ensure distancing on board the train itself. And the way that will work is your party will be seated together, but then they'll make sure to leave room between your party and the next party. And of course, certainly if you do have any, more detailed questions about this, please just let me know. Go ahead and type it away in the questions box and we'll make sure we get those answers out to you. Now, today's topic is on round trip vacations that you can take from your hometown. So I want to start off here by reminding you folks that all of these rail vacations we're going to look at today are customizable. So if I feature a trip that starts in Denver, Colorado or Chicago, Illinois, you do not have to be from Chicago to take that trip. You can take that trip from anywhere across the USA. And up into Canada. So Amtrak actually has over 500 stations across the US and up into Canada, which you can kind of see on the map here. All of those little white dots, I know they're a bit small, but you can download this map and blow it up on your computer at home just so you can see it a little better. But each one of those little white dots represents a station, and as you can see, Amtrak does travel all across the USA and up into Canada. It actually touches 46 out of the 48 continuous United States. So we can get you pretty much from anywhere you might be on board the train and out on one of these fantastic trips here. And just a little bit about how you can find trips from your closest station. So if you are on our site there at amtrakvacations.com, if you click on the vacation types header, we have a whole section for round trip vacations. Now you will see that these round trip vacations are from some of our more popular stations like Chicago, like New York, like Los Angeles. But do not worry, you do not have to actually live in Chicago to take the train from Chicago. You can take the train from a nearby station to Chicago and change trains there. Or a lot of the time, our smaller stations are actually on some of the major Amtrak routes. So for example, if you live in Naperville or Galesburg, Illinois, you don't have to go through Chicago. From Galesburg, you can hop right on the Southwest Chief or the California Limited. California Zephyr rather. So you are on some major train routes sometimes, even if you are boarding at a smaller station. Same thing, Fullerton in California. You don't have to go into Los Angeles necessarily. You can hop on the Southwest Chief train and head out to the Grand Canyon right from your local station. So in a lot of cases, your local station may be already on a major Amtrak line. And for those cases where it's not on a major Amtrak line, we'll talk a little bit about how to change stations a little bit later on in the presentation, but it's very easy to change trains with Amtrak here. So without any further ado, I do want to jump into some of these fantastic round trip vacations that you can take here with Amtrak Vacations from your hometown. And we're going to start off today with one of my favorites, which is the Whitefish and Glacier National Park Getaway. So this trip here is really fantastic, folks. This getaway is to Glacier National Park, which is one of our most popular destinations. For those of you that don't know, Glacier National Park is located in Montana, so up in the northern part of the US. And of course, it's known for its incredible snow-capped peaks. There are glaciers that you can see year-round. This is typically a seasonal destination, so Glacier National Park is usually only open for about 3 to 3.5 months out of the year. And the reason for that is because it does snow quite a bit up in the northern Rocky Mountains there. So some of the roads do close in the wintertime with the snow. So if you are interested in Glacier National Park, you still can go this year. You can go up until the middle of September or thereabouts this year, or certainly let us know if you'd like to head out there next year. Glacier National Park, of course, known for its mountain ranges. As I mentioned, it's part of the Northern Rocky Mountains, but it's also known for its beautiful lakes. It's got over 130 glacially carved lakes there in the national park. It's actually over 1 million acres in size, so it's quite a big and beautiful national park. And there's over 1,000 species of plants and hundreds of species of animals that you might see on your journey to Glacier National Park. Now, the Glacier National Park and Whitefish Getaway is situated on the Empire Builder line. So the Empire Builder travels from Chicago out to Seattle, or Seattle out to Chicago, goes in both directions, of course. So you can take this from your hometown quite easily if you do live pretty much anywhere along that northern route. I know there's a lot of folks joining us today actually from Wisconsin and Minnesota. Quite a few stops throughout Wisconsin and Minnesota. North Dakota as well, and Washington State, and of course Montana, because it goes straight through Glacier National Park in Montana there. And if you are not located right on the Empire Builder route, again, we'll talk about changing trains in just a bit, but it's quite easy to do. So for example, if you're located on the East Coast like me, you can head up to Chicago, change trains the same day. You don't need to have a long layover there, and head right out to this beautiful national park. So the Whitefish and Glacier National Park Getaway, it's 2 nights accommodations, but again, these are customizable trips, so you could certainly add extra nights if you like, if you want a little bit more time to explore the park. This one does include a 3-day car rental just to give you that full experience of the entire park. That way you can see the northern loop and the southern loop, and see the Going to the Sun Road, which is a famous winding road through the mountains in Glacier National Park there. And does include a sightseeing tour of the park as well. Now, one of the great things about this one too, folks, is the town of Whitefish, which is a beautiful little mountain town. It's nestled right at the foot of those Rocky Mountains. It's right on beautiful Whitefish Lake. So when you're not busy exploring the park, there's so much to see and do in Whitefish. Great dining experience. They've got the little beach right on the lake there as well. You can get some ice cream and watch the sunset over the lake. So really beautiful and fun place to visit here. Whitefish, Montana. And of course, it's the gateway to Glacier National Park. And again, you can take this getaway from your hometown, wherever that might be, whether it's the East Coast, the West Coast, or whether you're already on that Empire Builder line. Now we do have, I just want to touch briefly on our maximum flexibility offer, just to let you folks know about it. As I mentioned, you can still go out to Glacier this summer. If you were interested in traveling at this time, or of course you can book out for next year or even as far as 2022. So we are booking now all the way through the summer of 2022. And I know it's a little bit of a strange time to be planning a vacation. You're not quite sure what might be going on next year. But the great thing about that is that we do have this maximum flexibility offer. And what that means is if you book your trip by the 30th of September, doesn't matter when you travel, it can be this year, next year, or 2 years from now. If you need to make any changes whatsoever, so if you need to change your dates, change your itinerary, change your destination, or even cancel the trip, you can do that right up until 5 days before you are scheduled to leave. So 5 days before your departure, you can give us a call, make any changes that you need to. You can change the dates, like I said, or cancel it if you need to. And there will be no change fees and no cancellation fees. So it really gives you that peace of mind that you can book now. And if you did need to make changes next year, who knows what's going to be going on, you can do that with no trouble whatsoever. So I do just want to let you know about that great offer that we have, and that's for any trips here that you book by the 30th of September. Doesn't matter when you travel, that's extended to you. So another fantastic round trip getaway here is the Glenwood Springs Getaway round trip from Denver. So this trip here is fantastic. Glenwood Springs, if you haven't been, it's a beautiful town. It's located in the Rocky Mountains because you're in Colorado here. And it's actually located right along the Colorado River. And as the name suggests, it is famous for its hot springs. So there are local hot springs right there in town that you can visit on this Glenwood Springs getaway. As you can see, there's also a gondola ride available up to the mountain. There's an adventure park, and there's also Glenwood Caverns, which is an incredible cave formations with stalactites and stalagmites. All of these things are available to you on that Glenwood Springs journey. This one here is round trip from Denver. It's a really easy ride out from Denver. So if you are located in that Colorado area, this would just be a day trip for you. So you don't need to do the overnight on board the train. But this trip is located on the California Zephyr. And we will look at the California Zephyr in just a minute here. But the California Zephyr stretches from Chicago all the way out to the Pacific Ocean, all the way out just shy of San Francisco, California. Or of course you could go the other direction if you're located in the Bay Area. You could hop on the train in Emeryville or Oakland, for example, and ride the California Zephyr all the way here to Glenwood Springs in Colorado. In which case it would be an overnight ride, so we can certainly set you up with those roomettes or bedrooms. So this Glenwood Springs getaway, as it is here round trip from Denver, does start at just $329 per person. Now that's based on two folks sharing the room. If you are traveling as a solo traveler or as a party of 3 or 4 or 5, no problem at all. Just let us know. We can get you those rates, just depending on what your party size is. We can certainly accommodate that for you. So this does include the 2 nights hotel accommodations, as well as the admission to the tram and cave tour. As I mentioned, there's those beautiful cave formations with the stalactites and stalagmites there. It includes the round trip from Denver to Glenwood Springs. This is just in the coach seats because, as I mentioned, it is just a day trip if you're coming from Denver. And of course, that is on the beautiful California Zephyr train. So the scenery, actually, folks, in between Denver and Glenwood Springs is phenomenal. You're going right through the Rocky Mountains, so you've got the snow-capped peaks. Your train is going around these windy bends through the mountains. It's really a lovely ride as well here. And just to touch on, I just want to remind you folks that all of these trips here are customizable. And what does that mean? So not only can you start the trip from your hometown, of course, but you can also modify any of the trips. So as you saw, the first two we looked at were just 2 nights, but you can easily add extra nights. So just to give you an example, this is our Rails to the Grand Canyon package. It's one of our most popular trips out to the Grand Canyon. It's a round trip from Los Angeles. But on this trip, you can very easily add extra nights in the canyon if you like. Normally comes with 2 nights, but you can add 3 nights or 4 nights if you want to really explore that area. You can also upgrade your hotels. So the El Tovar is the famous historic lodge right on the rim of the South Rim itself. You can actually look over the canyon as you're eating dinner in their dining room, and we can certainly get you accommodations in that beautiful historic hotel there right on the South Rim. And as I mentioned, the trip does start and end in Los Angeles. So maybe if you've never been to Los Angeles before, it's very easy to add on a Los Angeles getaway. So we can add you a couple nights hotel accommodations there in Los Angeles. We can add you maybe a hop on, hop off to get around the city, or maybe you want to do a guided tour, head up to the Griffith Observatory or out to Santa Monica Pier. We have quite a few different sightseeing options. So do keep that in mind as we look at the different round trip options for you today. You can always add extra nights, you can add destinations, you can customize that sightseeing. For example, we'll see Seattle in a little while, comes with the Space Needle, but if you're afraid of heights, no problem, we can sub that in with a different activity. Moving on to another one of our incredible national park vacations. This one here is Yellowstone and Grand Tetons rail journey, round trip from Chicago. Now this one is also on the beautiful California Zephyr train that we'll see in just a moment. And this one does feature overnight rides on board the train. So you take one overnight from Chicago out to Salt Lake City. You spend the night there because you'll get in the evening. You head up to beautiful Grand Tetons National Park. You stay in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and then head up to Yellowstone, where you stay inside the national park for 2 nights before coming back on down to Salt Lake City and hopping on that train back to Chicago. And again, folks, as I mentioned, this does feature the California Zephyr train. This is one of my absolute favorite train rides. Anywhere in the world, really, not just here in the US. As I mentioned, the California Zephyr does go from Chicago all the way out to San Francisco. You do most of the ride here on this trip because you go from Chicago out to Salt Lake City. So when you first start this journey out from Chicago, you're going to be going through kind of the Great Plains area. So it's beautiful rolling fields and sort of golden wheat fields, and it's really lovely in the springtime and sort of early summer because you've got the wildflowers, as you can kind of see in that photo there. Beautiful wildflowers everywhere as you travel through the Great Plains. You then will go to sleep at night, hopefully maybe in your private cabin, your roomette or bedroom on board the train. When you wake up in the morning, you'll be in Denver, Colorado. So you hit Denver, Colorado right about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And from there, the next several hours are you climbing up into the snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains there in central Colorado. The train actually winds around these incredibly tight mountain mountain passages through tunnels up into the mountains, and then it descends back out of the mountains, and it follows the Colorado River for a couple hundred miles, following along the river. And you've got these beautiful towering red rocks in the distance. You can see that on the left-hand photo. You can just make out past the trees that you can see the river there. This is a photo taken on my trip here, so I apologize if it's not perfect quality, but it's those beautiful red rocks. This is from the dining car as you head across Colorado and into Utah, and then you get into the beautiful Salt Lake City that evening. So it's a really lovely ride from Chicago out to Salt Lake City. And again, just to keep in mind, you can start this trip from anywhere along that California Zephyr route. So if you're, let's say, in Nebraska, you can start in Omaha or Lincoln or anywhere along that route. It doesn't have to be Chicago, of course. Now, you will spend your first night in Salt Lake City, which is a lovely destination in itself. And then you'll travel up to Grand Teton National Park. So this is, you'll stay in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and you have chance to experience the beautiful Grand Teton National Park, which is really stunning. It's known for, of course, the Teton Mountain Range, as you can see in the photo there. But it's also known for its fantastic wildlife. We actually do have a wildlife sightseeing tour that's included with this. So you'll get out and go on a wildlife safari, they call it, to see some fantastic wildlife up in the area. And then you'll continue on to Yellowstone National Park, which is where you spend the next 2 nights of this vacation. So Yellowstone, of course, is famous for its geothermal features. I'm sure you've heard of Old Faithful Geyser, which is, of course, this massive geyser that goes off like clockwork there in Yellowstone National Park. But there's actually over 300 geysers across the entire park. Of course, there's the Grand Prismatic Spring that you can see up in the right-hand side there, this incredible sulfurous hot spring with these deep blues going to turquoise and yellow and orange at the outside. There's a whole section of these throughout the park. Of course, Yellowstone Falls, as you can see in the photo there, and Yellowstone certainly is known for its wildlife as well. A couple of friends of mine were out there last year here with Amtrak Vacations, and they actually had to stop for a bison traffic jam. So there was a herd of bison crossing the road, so they actually had to pause their tour and wait for the bison to cross the road before they could continue, as you can kind of see on that photo down at the bottom there. So Yellowstone National Park certainly is an absolutely incredible place to visit. And you can, of course, go from Chicago, as you see here, or from any of the stations along that California Zephyr route. And as I mentioned, of course, you don't have to be on the California Zephyr route. You can travel from any station across the USA or Canada to head out to Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. So this one here, this trip is 2 nights hotel accommodations in Salt Lake, 2 nights in Yellowstone, and 1 night in Jackson Hole, along with 2 nights on board Amtrak. This one does include a car rental for you as well, just to give you, again, that little extra freedom in exploring the park on your own. That way you can get around and really see all those different parts of Yellowstone National Park. But we do include a guided sightseeing tour of Yellowstone, as well as a guided sightseeing tour of Grand Teton. And now this one here does start at $18.99 per person. That's for the whole trip. That's for the sightseeing tours, the hotels, the car rental, and the Amtrak in-coach accommodations. And I know that folks do often ask about, what does it cost to upgrade to the sleeping accommodations? And the reason that we don't have those in the regular price is just because it does vary so much depending on when you go, where you go, when you book. All these different factors factor into the pricing of those sleeping accommodations. But I always want to be able to give you folks a little bit of an idea what it might look like. So on this trip here, it's 2 overnights on the train. So 1 overnight from Chicago to Salt Lake, and then 1 overnight from Salt Lake back to Chicago at the end. Just to give you an idea, I looked at this trip at the end of September this year. And if you did want to upgrade to the roomettes, which is the first type of sleeper accommodation, it would only be about an additional $125 per person based on 2 people sharing the roomette. So really very economical for you to upgrade to those private sleepers. And do keep in mind, we'll see at the end, but when you do upgrade to the roomette, all of your meals on board the train are included. So in this trip, you'll leave Chicago in the afternoon, so you'll get dinner on the first night, and then you'll actually have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on your way to Salt Lake City, because it's a pretty full day from about Denver to Salt Lake City on that second day of your travel. So you'll get 4 meals included on the way out and 4 meals included on the way back, plus your private room with your beds to sleep in and all of the great perks that come with it that we'll see in just a minute. And of course, that is just about 125 more per person. Again, that price can change, certainly depending on where you go, when you book, but just to give you an idea, that's really kind of the ballpark that you're looking at on a trip like this. And as I mentioned before, I just want to talk a little bit about what it's like to change trains, because I know that if you are coming from your hometown, you very well might need to change trains, sometimes in one of those larger stations like Chicago or Los Angeles, depending on where you live and where you're traveling to. But I just want to reassure you folks that it's very easy to change trains. With Amtrak, all of the stations are very well marked. So there'll be signs pretty much everywhere you go in the station to show you where the tracks are, to tell you what train is going to arrive on what track and at what time. So it's very easy to navigate the stations, just generally speaking. And then in addition, Amtrak has fantastic staff at every station. They've got information booths at every station. And certainly you can ask the folks at the ticket booth or the luggage check-in booth as well if you did need directions. And I just wanted to highlight that as a sleeper car passenger, so another perk if you do upgrade to those roomettes or bedrooms that we'll see in a little bit, you do have access to the comfy and private station lounges in those bigger stations like Chicago, like Los Angeles, like New York City. Um, those larger stations do have what's called the station lounge, which is your own private lounge as a sleeper car passenger, where you're away from the crowds, essentially. You can sit back and relax in a comfy chair. They can hang on to your baggage for you. They've usually got some prepackaged snacks and some coffee and tea and that sort of thing as well. The photo there is the station lounge in Chicago, just to give you an idea of how they look like. Nice big comfy open spaces there. And then if you do check your bags, the bags will travel all the way through to your destination. So let's say you're going to leave from the East Coast, you're leaving from Boston or you're leaving from Philadelphia, and you're changing trains in Chicago on your way to Glacier National Park, let's say. If you check your bag in Boston, it's going to go all the way to Glacier Park. You don't have to get it off in Chicago. You don't have to go to baggage claim or anything like that. You check it in Boston and you take it off in Glacier Park or Glenwood Springs or wherever you might like to visit. So you don't have to worry about moving your bags around for you. And for any smaller carry-on bags, because of course you'll need an overnight bag with your pajamas and your toothbrush and that sort of thing, there is Red Cap service available in the station. So Amtrak's Red Cap service is a free service that they offer. Those folks will help you, as you can see in the photo there, bring your bags all the way to the door of the train to get them on for you, if you do have mobility impairment or just worried about carrying those bags on your own. So just some examples of how easy it is to change trains. Certainly, if you do have any questions about changing trains, just go ahead and pop them in the questions box and I'll answer them for you at the end. Now, another really lovely place to visit and very easy place to visit is Seattle. So Seattle is a really fantastic city. It's called the Emerald City. That's their nickname. And of course, Seattle is known for the beautiful Space Needle. They're located right on the water, so they've got incredible seafood. You can see it at Pike's Place Market in that bottom right-hand photo. The public market during the daytime, you'll actually see them throwing the fish to each other across the market. It's really neat. And the great thing about Seattle as well is that it's located right near Mount Rainier and Olympic National Park. So if you did want to visit some of those beautiful national parks in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle is a great base for you to do that. And we do have tours out to both of those places, out to Mount Rainier as well as Olympic National Park. Now, Seattle is a great place to visit from your hometown because it's connected by multiple rail lines. So it's connected on the Empire Builder, as we talked about, which goes from Chicago through Glacier National Park all the way across the northern part of the US. So if you're located in Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, very easy to get out to Seattle. But Seattle is also connected to the entire Pacific coastline by the Coast Starlight train. So the Coast Starlight train actually originates in Seattle, goes all the way down through San Francisco, and then continues on to Los Angeles. So connects up that entire Pacific coastline. Certainly, of course, again, you can start in Los Angeles and travel northbound up to Seattle that way. So if you live anywhere in California, Oregon, or Washington State, very easy to connect into Seattle by the beautiful Coast Starlight. This is one of Amtrak's most famous routes because of the spectacular scenery along this route. So from Los Angeles going north, you are hugging that coastline, as you can see in these two photos here. It's really neat. You can see surfers and people lying on the beach. One of my coworkers even saw baby seals playing in the bay as they were traveling along. I personally had my dinner as the sun set over the water on the Pacific Ocean. So it's really lovely ride. And then as you come into more like the San Francisco area, you actually cut inland a little bit and you're going through wine country now. So there's beautiful rolling vineyards out the window. It's a great time to pop over to the cafe car and grab a glass of wine, local California wine to enjoy as you're traveling through wine country. And then with the Coast Starlight, actually, as you get up into the Pacific Northwest, you're going through the Cascade Mountain Range. And it's almost like a Pacific Northwest kind of rainforest through, big towering trees. And in the distance, you've got the snow-capped mountains, which stay snowy all year round as you come up through Portland, through Oregon, and into Seattle. So it's really beautiful scenery all along this Coast Starlight route. So if you are located in Southern California somewhere, you can hop on the train in Los Angeles, or again, many other stations are very easy to connect through onto the Coast Starlight and head up north to Seattle. So this Seattle getaway here, it's 2 nights in Seattle, but again, you can easily add extra nights if you want to do a day trip out to Mount Rainier or to Olympic National Park. Comes with a hop-on, hop-off tour of Seattle so that you can get around the city. Or if you prefer, you can substitute in a guided tour if you'd prefer to have that guided experience with somebody telling you about the city as you go around. It also includes admission to the Space Needle and the Glass Garden exhibit, which is right there at the base of the Space Needle. Now, with the sightseeing, as I mentioned, it is all customizable. So if you are afraid of heights, do not worry. You do not have to visit the Space Needle. You can quite easily substitute in a trip out to Mount Rainier or maybe Olympic National Park. Or we've got a great food tour in Pike's Place Market where you can sample food from the different stalls in the marketplace. So any of those would be available to you there in Seattle. And with Seattle, this is a great place to talk about the different types of hotel accommodations that we do have. So here with Amtrak Vacations, we have a wide variety of different hotel options for you to choose from. So if you want a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star option, we can certainly accommodate you in almost every place. So Seattle is one of those places certainly where we can get you the clean and comfortable hotel that you can use as your base for exploring the area. But if you'd prefer, maybe you want a little bit more luxurious experience, you want to go to the spa in your hotel, maybe you want to have a fine dinner with beautiful views, we can certainly arrange that for you as well. Now here with Amtrak Vacations, we do pride ourselves on having hotels that are very conveniently located. So typically all of our hotels are located either right by the train station or right by a major point of sightseeing. So for example, in Seattle, you could stay right up next to the Space Needle, or you could stay right down by Pike's Place Market and the waterfront if you prefer maybe those waterfront views from your hotel. So just depends on where in the city you'd like to stay. We can certainly arrange that for you. I know that one of the questions that we do get quite often with Amtrak Vacations is, how do you get from the train station to the hotel? And in a lot of cases, they're very centrally located. So, for example, you can walk to the train station, walk to your hotel from the train station in several cases. In other cases, they're a mile or less away. So you can very easily get a very short taxi ride from the train station to the hotel. In other places, like the Grand Canyon, all of those transfers are included for you, which is a really fantastic part of this phenomenal Grand Canyon getaway. So the Grand Canyon, folks, is absolutely one of my favorite places to visit. Again, not just in the US, but in the entire world. If you've not had a chance to visit the Grand Canyon yet, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's literally breathtaking. When you first see the Grand Canyon, it doesn't look real. It almost looks like a painted Hollywood backdrop because it just stretches on and on and on as far as the eye can see. It's actually 277 miles long. It's over a mile deep and up to 18 miles wide at its widest point. So uh, it's really an unbelievable sight to behold. The other thing that's so incredible about the Grand Canyon is that you could stand there and look at it for hours because it is always changing as the clouds move across, as the sun dips in and out of the clouds, the shadows, play on the different parts. You can kind of see that in the Uwa Point photo there with the shadows just kind of to the one side of the image. No matter where the sun is and where the clouds are, it's always creating this kind of dynamic and really changeable landscape to look at. So it's really stunning, never fails to dazzle visitors for sure. And with the Grand Canyon Getaway, one of the things that I love about this trip is that it is so easy for you. So let's say that you take the train here from Galesburg, right? You're going to take the train from Galesburg, Illinois, or maybe you're going to come from Kansas City, Missouri, or Topeka, Kansas. Anywhere you hop on board the Southwest Chief train, you ride down to Flagstaff. And when you arrive in Flagstaff, there's a transfer waiting for you right there at the train station. That transfer is going to bring you to the hotel in Williams, Arizona, where you spend your first night. You spend that night in Williams, Arizona. And when you wake up the next morning, breakfast is included for you. You'll drop your suitcases off at the lobby of the hotel and you don't see them again until you get to the Grand Canyon. So somebody will move all those big bags for you with no worries on your part. After your included breakfast, there is a really fun little Wild West cowboy show, which is great for children if you are traveling with children, or if you're a child at heart like me and you like to see the cowboys and robbers. It's really a lot of fun as well. The sheriff will save the day in the end, spoiler alert. But there's a really fun little Wild West cowboy show. And right at the end of that cowboy show, the beautiful Grand Canyon Railway steam engine train will come rolling into the depot right behind you. So you pretty much just turn around and board the beautiful Grand Canyon Railway train. That's the train that you see featured here. I really love this Grand Canyon Getaway because it has this kind of bonus train ride. So not only do you take the Amtrak train, you're also going to be riding on the beautiful Grand Canyon Railway, which is going to take you from Williams, Arizona, right up to the south rim of the canyon itself. So when you disembark this Grand Canyon Railway train, we've got a lovely tour that's included for you. And at the end of that tour, you are dropped off at the hotel where you're going to spend the night there at the Grand Canyon. And then you've got the whole rest of the afternoon and evening to explore. The next day, you've got all morning and afternoon to explore before you hop back on the Grand Canyon Railway train and head back down into Williams for your last night. You'll then get picked up right at your hotel in Williams, brought to that train station in Flagstaff to board the Amtrak Southwest Chief back to Chicago or to, again, anywhere along this route. So the Southwest Chief route, folks, travels from Chicago all the way to Los Angeles, going through Williams, Arizona for the stop to the Grand Canyon. So you can very easily take this trip from Los Angeles or from California as well, headed out eastbound to the Grand Canyon that way. So this trip is really quite lovely because you can travel it pretty much from anywhere along that Southwest Chief route. And as I mentioned, if you do need to change trains, maybe you're located on the East Coast, maybe you're in Washington, D.C., North Carolina, anywhere like that, you can connect up through Chicago, from Chicago down to Williams. You can do that change of trains in Chicago the same day, so you don't need a layover in Chicago. You can arrive at the train station in the morning, relax in that beautiful sightseer lounge that we saw for a couple hours, and then hop on the Southwest Chief train out to the Grand Canyon. So this Grand Canyon Getaway is 3 nights accommodations, but again, certainly you can add extra nights if you like. It's got round trip accommodations in the coach on that Grand Canyon Railway. Now, there are several classes of service on that beautiful Grand Canyon Railway train, so do ask us or your local travel agent about those upgrade options. They've got that beautiful dome car that you saw in the photo there. I highly recommend you at least ask about that one. It also includes the sightseeing tour and a couple meals for you, a breakfast and a dinner. And then, of course, if you do take the roomette or bedroom on board Amtrak, the meals on board Amtrak would be included for you as well. And I've just got a little bit of time left here, so I just want to feature one more beautiful round trip getaway, and that is the New Orleans Ultimate Getaway. I really like to talk about New Orleans because A, it's an incredible place to visit. They've got so much history and culture and incredible cuisine. They've got Creole food and Cajun food. They've got jazz music on every corner. It's a really fun and vibrant and really engaging place to visit there in New Orleans. And the other thing that's so fantastic about it is that it is so easily accessible by train. So again, multiple train routes head down to New Orleans, one of which is the Sunset Limited. That train starts in Los Angeles and travels all the way across the southern part of the United States through Arizona, all the way through Texas and Louisiana on into New Orleans. So beautiful ride again. You get that beautiful desert scenery as you're going through Arizona. And then as you come into Louisiana, all of a sudden it really changes to this sort of swampy bayou with the Spanish moss hanging overhead. You're going all over all these rivers and ponds and lakes and things on your way into New Orleans. It's also connected by the City of New Orleans train, the quite famous City of New Orleans train. You may have heard of it in song form. That one starts from Chicago and heads straight down south to New Orleans. So if you're located pretty much anywhere in Illinois, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, go straight through Memphis, Tennessee on your way down to New Orleans. And then New Orleans is also connected up to Washington on the East Coast and goes through, that's the Crescent train, goes through Atlanta. So if you're in Georgia or you're in one of the Carolinas, it's pretty easy to connect over to that Crescent train and head on down to New Orleans that way. So really fantastic destination. This trip is so great. It's 3 nights accommodations. Again, with hotel choices, you can stay wherever you like, but we've got really incredible options right there in the French Quarter for you. Um, this does include dinner at a popular local restaurant, so you can try out some of that great Cajun and Creole food. We also have the attractions pass for you to get you into some of those fantastic museums and different attractions. And then you have your choice of sightseeing. You can choose from the Swamp and Bayou tour, or maybe the steamboat jazz cruise, which is really quite lovely, of course. So that's our New Orleans getaway. And again, just let us know where you might be coming from, and we can let you know the easiest route down to New Orleans. And now I'm going to show you folks some great features of the inside of the train. So we're going to take a look at those different accommodations, the roomettes and the bedrooms there. But first, I just wanted to let you know we do have some great limited time offers available right now. So we've got fantastic deal on Roundtrip Vacations. New Orleans as well is on sale, as well as Rocky Mountain National Park. So I know we talked about Glenwood Springs in Colorado from Denver. But certainly if you did visit Denver, Rocky Mountain National Park is a very easy jumping off point from Denver. Of course, as we talked about, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, and Glacier Park are all on sale as well. So just visit us at amtrak.vacations.com/special offers. Give us a call or call your local travel agent, and we can certainly let you know about all the other great specials that we have going on. So just wanted to highlight that since we talked about some of those fantastic destinations, we do have some great sales on them right now. But I know that a lot of you folks were asking about what it's like on board the train. So I definitely want to make sure that I do feature that for you. So a little bit about what you need to know before your train trip. So packing for the train, this is a question that I get all the time. What should I pack? And you should know that Amtrak has a very generous luggage allowance. So you can bring 2 free carry-on bags per person, in addition to 2 free checked bags per person, wherever checked baggage is available, which is most stations. Just let us know, or your local travel agent know where your hometown station is, and we can let you know if checked baggage is available. But it is available from all of the stations we've looked at today, so it's quite common throughout. Now, with that checked baggage, as I mentioned before, once you check it, let's say in Boston or maybe in Philadelphia, maybe in North Carolina, wherever it might be, you check your bag and then you don't pick it up until you get to your first destination. So if you're going through Chicago or through one of the other stations, you don't have to worry about it when you're changing trains. You pick it up in that first destination. Now, what that means is that you do have to make sure to pack anything that you need for your train journey in a carry-on bag that you are going to bring with you on board the train. So make sure that you pack your pajamas, your toothbrush, your phone charger, charger for your tablet or any other electronic devices. Any medication, of course, that you might need, you should put in that carry-on bag. You can also bring snacks on the train, so you can very easily bring some food and drink on board the train as well if you want to have your own little train picnic. And if you are checking bags in the station, you do have to do that before 45 minutes prior to departure. So I always recommend that you try and check those bags about an hour prior to your departure, just to give you enough time if there's a little bit of a longer line, or if you need time to find that check-in desk at the station. You always want to be there about an hour before the train's scheduled to depart. But certainly it is not nearly so bad as when you travel by plane. You do not need to be at the Amtrak station 3 hours early. um, you can bring a normal size bottle of shampoo. Nobody is going to check how much shampoo you have. So you can bring normal size bottles of liquids as well. So it's definitely more convenient and comfortable packing for Amtrak. Now, with the different types of accommodations, the first one that we should talk about, of course, is the coach accommodations. So the coach accommodations are very comfortable. I actually don't really love the word coach because I think it makes folks think of crowded and cramped airplanes, but that is not the case at all with Amtrak. So with the coach seats, there is no middle seat. You are two seats and then an aisle and then two more seats. As you can see, you've got a lovely picture window there. The luggage will be stored over your head or underneath the seat for a smaller bag. Now, if you do have a larger bag, you can store it at the front of the coach car. There is a luggage rack for larger bags at the front of the car, but the storage overhead is quite spacious, as you can see there. With coach seats as well, the seats do recline back right about 45 degrees, so quite comfortable recline there. And you do have outlets at your seat and a little footrest that comes up as well. Now, with the coach seats, the food is not included, but you do have access to the dining car and the cafe car, so you can purchase meals out of pocket if you're in coach. And certainly, as I mentioned, you can bring your own snacks and drinks on board as well. So just another shot of the coach seats. You can really see in this one, I think, that big, beautiful picture window. So you can see that even if you are in the coach seats, you've got really lovely views throughout your journey. But of course, if you are going to be traveling overnight, we do always recommend that you do look into the roomettes or the bedrooms, those sleeping accommodations on board the train. And one of the great perks of having those sleeping accommodations is that sleeping passengers do board the train separately. So what that means is they're going to call for the sleeper car passengers first, so you can avoid the massive crowds of people rushing down to the train to get the best seat in coach. With the sleepers, your seat rooms are already assigned for you, so there's no need to rush. And you can really beat the crowds and board separately. It's like having priority boarding essentially if you are a sleeper car passenger. And if you are coming from one of the lounges in Chicago or Los Angeles, they'll actually walk you folks down to the train, kind of giving you that priority, which is really nice. Now, the first type of sleeper accommodation is called a roomette. A roomette is designed for one or two adults. During the day, it's two chairs which face each other. You've got the big, beautiful picture window there. You've got a little tray table that folds out as well if you want to have dinner in your roomette or you want to watch a movie on your laptop or something like that. Of course, you do have outlets in the roomette as well to charge those devices. You have in the evening time, they are going to fold down into bunk beds. So you'll have one bottom bunk and one top bunk, which we'll see in just a moment. And one of the great features with the roomette, of course, is that you do have access to the restrooms and showers, which are just down the hall. So with those facilities down the hall, I know I often get the question about privacy and cleanliness, but I can tell you, you really don't have to worry. There are multiple restrooms, certainly, and shower for the roomette passengers. And you're not sharing with the entire train. You're only sharing with those folks who have a roomette in your train car. So again, it's not shared with the entire train. It's just with the other folks who have a roomette in that train car. And one of the great things about having a sleeper car of any kind is that you have a sleeper car attendant, and he or she is fantastic. They will help you to make up your seats into beds at night. They'll make your beds back up into seats for you in the morning. They are responsible for the facilities and they take great pride in keeping them super clean and cleanly for you so that there's nothing to worry about there. They're also just great repositories of knowledge, right? So they can tell you what mountain you're passing, what river you're going past, and all kinds of things like that. If you do choose to have your meals delivered to your room, they can help you make your meal choices as well. And just another shot of the roomette here. I think this is a really nice one. You can see that during the day, as I mentioned, they are seats which face each other, which is great. You guys can chat. You've got your great big picture window, and you do have that privacy door that pulls across. So you can lock the door from the inside if you like, when you go to sleep at night, for example. And you do have, you can kind of see behind the gentleman's head there, you've got some really big, thick privacy curtains. Which you can pull across to make sure that you don't wake up with the sunrise, for example. So here's just a shot of the roomettes as they are set up at night. You can see it's 2 bunk beds, 1 bottom bunk, and 1 top bunk. It's a little tough to see in this photo, but right by the gentleman's arm, the arm that he's got resting on the bed, you can just about see a little piece of blue. That's one of the steps to get up to the top bunk. I know that's another common question from folks is how easy is it to get to the top bunk? I would say that if you don't have mobility issues, it's really not too much trouble. I've slept on the top bunk on multiple occasions, and I find it quite cozy up there. And it's really not too tough to get to. As I said, there are a couple steps just by that gentleman's arm. You can just kind of see the first one. There's another one above it that you can use to help you get yourself up into the bed. There are also straps that you can put up. So if you were concerned about rolling out in the middle of the night, there are some straps that you can choose to put up if you like. Now, if you do have mobility issues or you're concerned about climbing up to that top bunk, one of the things that I often recommend for folks is actually to get 2 roomettes. So traveling, as a couple or as a pair, you can get 2 roomettes. If you let us know, we can try and get them right across from each other. And that way, during the day, you can travel together. You can sit in whichever roomette has the best view, right? If all of a sudden a mountain comes up on the left-hand side, you pop over to that roomette. Then there's a river on the right-hand side, you pop over to that. So you can sit together in whichever roomette you feel like. And then at nighttime, you would just fold down the bottom bunk in each roomette. And that way you would each have your own bottom bunk to sleep in. You can see if you just kind of envision, maybe put your hand to the side of the screen, just how much space you would have overhead if the top bunk was not folded down. So very cozy and comfortable if you are the only person sleeping in a roomette. So that's always an option for you as well if you are concerned about climbing up to that top bunk. Now, if you do want a little bit more space, I do recommend the bedroom. So the bedroom is the other main type of cabin on board Amtrak. It's the larger room, as you can see here. During the day, it's a love seat and a chair, so you can sit across from each other as this couple is doing, or you could sit next to each other if you prefer on that love seat. Again, you've got the big, beautiful picture window. You've got the tray table. You can see they've got it folded out in this photo just so you can see what it looks like. There's a little bit of storage over your head for your bags. As you can see over the gentleman's head there, there's a little a bag storage area. And what makes the bedroom really unique and special is that the bedroom does have its own private facilities. So not only do you have a sink and vanity in your room, you also have your own little private toilet and shower stall. So it is a little bit like if you've ever been on a sailboat, you turn on the shower and you get the whole little stall wet, but it is separate to your room, so of course your whole room won't be wet, and it is private to just you in your bedroom. So that's a really nice feature as well. Just another shot of the bedroom in the daytime. You can see again, very easy to sit across from each other. Um, Again, you can see those big heavy privacy curtains with Velcro, so you can draw them across and make sure that you won't be interrupted in the morning by the sunrise, for example. And here's a great shot of what they look at like at night when they're folded down into the bunk beds. So with the bedrooms, again, it is bunk bed style. So it'll be one bunk on the bottom and one bunk on the top. With the bedrooms, it's not shown in the photo, but there is actually a ladder that you can climb to get up to the top bunk. So it's even easier to get to the top bunk in the bedroom accommodations. On the bottom bunk, I have heard folks tell me that they sleep two adults in a bottom bunk. I can't recommend it. I think you'd be very have to be very close to do that. But certainly you could sleep one adult and one child on that bottom bunk. It's more like a twin size bed on that bottom bunk. So this bedroom will accommodate two adults and one child if you are traveling maybe as a couple with a small child. This might be a choice for you. If you are traveling as a family with two adults or and two children, there is a family room as well. The family room has two adult-sized bunks and two child-sized bunks at night, so it's perfect for a family of four. Or if you're traveling maybe with four adults, maybe you've got teenage kids, or maybe it's two couples traveling together, what you can actually do is buy two of the bedrooms and then take the wall out in between them to create a bedroom suite. So that's actually how they're taking the photo there. Right where you can see on the left-hand side of this photo where that water bottle is, there'd pretty much be a wall right across here. They've taken the wall out so they can get a better shot of the beds at night. But you can also kind of envision how this would be. You come around the corner and you're in your other bedroom. So it creates a bedroom suite kind of environment there. Another question we very frequently get is from folks who have mobility needs or accessible needs. So Amtrak does have accessible seating in their coach seating, and they do have an accessible bedroom on every train as well. In some cases, of course, there's more than one accessible bedroom, but they are usually just one per car. So it's going to depend on how many train cars are attached to that train. As you can see here, the setup is similar to a bedroom. So during the day, it's a love seat. You can sit next to each other. And then at night, it does fold down into bunk beds. It is a larger room. It does have space for the wheelchair as well. And it does have its own private, toilet facilities there, toilet and sink there with the accessible bedroom. So you do have a private restroom, and then the shower is just outside the hall, and it is an accessible shower. It does have a tiny little seat in it as well if you do need that. So if you do have any accessible needs, just let us know or let your local travel agent know, and we can certainly make those accommodations for you. Now, Amtrak, one of the joys of Amtrak is the food. They have fantastic food on many of these long distance trains that we've seen. The food is prepared fresh on board. And at all times, if you'd like, you can have it delivered to you in your private room. So if you do have a roomette, a bedroom, an accessible room, or a family room, you can have that meal delivered to you right there in your room. You would order with the dining car attendant, as you see in the left-hand photo. You get the full menu to order from, and you would select what time you'd like it to be delivered to you. And then right at 6 o'clock, they'll bring you your steak and baked potato, or whatever your choice might be. I know that's really comforting for a lot of folks, especially if you were looking to travel this summer, this fall, and you want to maintain as much social distance as possible. It's great that you can have that meal delivered to you right in your private room. If you do prefer, the dining car is still open, so you can head down to the dining car and eat in the dining car. At this time, Amtrak is only seating parties together. So if you've been on the train before, you might know that in the past, if you were traveling as a solo person or a party of two, you might be seated with another party at your table. It's really fun. You get to know different people and where they're coming from. But at this time, with social distancing, Amtrak is making sure just to put your party at your table and then the next party at the next table. So you don't have to worry about mingling too much in the dining car if you did choose to head down there to have your meal. As I mentioned, on most of these long distance trains, the California Zephyr, the Empire Builder, and similar, those meals are prepared fresh on board, which is really quite a nice feature as well. So I know that we're pretty much at our time limit here, folks. So just to wrap it up here for you, very quickly, why take the train? Of course, it's comfortable, it's relaxing, it's very convenient, as we've seen. And of course, there's some incredible scenery all along the journey. It's much more comfortable than being crammed in to a 50-person motor coach. It's much lovelier ride than certainly traveling on an airplane. And just as a quick reminder, we do have that maximum flexibility. So if you do book between now and the 30th of September, it doesn't matter when you travel, you can make any changes you need to right up until 5 days before your trip. And as I promised you, we do have a fantastic offer for you folks just for joining us today. Um, it's $100 off your booking if you do upgrade to a sleeping accommodation, so roomette, bedroom, family room, accessible room, whatever it might be. Just go ahead and mention the promo upgrade 100. That's upgrade 100 saves $100 off your booking if you do upgrade to those sleeping accommodations. We do have some great everyday discounts as well if you qualify as a child, a senior, or a military member or veteran. Just ask us or your local travel agent about those discounts. And do visit us at amtrakvacations.com. Of course, I only had time to show you about 6 different trips today, but we've got hundreds all across the USA and up into Canada as well. And if you did have fun today, we have several webinars upcoming. We do these every week. So we've got next week is overnight rail journeys, really focusing on those overnight rides. The 4th and 5th, some fantastic national parks for you: Bryce, Zion, Acadia, and Great Smoky Mountains. And then the 11th of August, the 5 best train vacations in Canada for 2021. And don't forget, again, please go ahead and download those handouts and type away any questions for you. I'll grab a couple questions here and just a question from me to you, just so that we can keep these presentations something that's interesting to you. What destination are you interested in, and when are you interested in traveling? So I will grab a couple questions here. I can see we've got quite a few. If I don't have a chance to answer yours, do not worry. We will reach out to you and make sure that somebody gets you that information that you need. All right, first question here um, from Elaine. So, does the lounge in Washington, D.C. Go with the sleeper car roomette? So, great question, Elaine. So, if you do book a roomette, you do have access to that lounge in Washington, D.C. So you can relax in that station lounge, and then they'll call you for your priority boarding on board the train if you're headed down to Savannah, to Charleston, to Florida, or up to Chicago, wherever you might be going. If you do have that roomette or bedroom on board the train, you have access to the lounge there. Great question here from, sorry, there's quite a few questions here, folks. So great question here from Susan. Susan was late and missed the promotions. Just wondering about other promotions that are coming up. So Susan, please do give us a call or call your local travel agent. Check us out online as well. We do have that special offers page with all those limited time promotions. And of course, you get the $100 off just for joining us today. It's upgrade 100, just to remind you folks. And last one we have time for, but again, I promise we will get all of your questions answered. We'll send those informations out to you. Great question here from Norman. Norman would like to know about the dining on board the train, specifically about dietary restrictions. So great question, Norman. So just go ahead and let your dining car attendant know about any restrictions that you may have. So Amtrak will always have a vegetarian meal, and they'll always have a kosher meal available. And then for any other dietary restrictions like low sodium or low carbs, just go ahead and let your dining car attendant know. They'll point out what would be the best suited meal for you, and certainly if there's any modifications they can make, like doing a burger with lettuce bun instead of a gluten bun, right? So I just want to thank everybody again for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to spend with us here at Amtrak Vacations, and I hope that you folks have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much.